How's it going today, guys? I'm going to be comparing and contrasting the Benelli M4 versus the Beretta 1301. This is the Mod 2 and this is the T Pro or Gen 2 model. If you want to see more content like this, please like, subscribe, and share to help support the channel, and I would really appreciate that. If you just want the quick answer and don't want to watch the whole video, I do recommend the Beretta 1301 over the Benelli M4 simply because of weight. Either are a bad option. You can't go wrong with both. They are both great combat shotguns, and the Benelli M4, in my opinion, is the best combat shotgun of all time. I'll talk about the differences, pros and cons in both. I'll talk about the attachments and stuff I did to the guns, what I like, what I don't like. The Beretta Mod 2 costs anywhere from $700 to $900. This green cost me $900. If you get the Gen 1, you'll be closer to $600. Maybe you could find it a little bit lower. For the Benelli M4 Gen 2, you're going to be looking anywhere from $1,900 to $2,400, depending on where you can find it. So this is going to be significantly more expensive. I am going to actually be selling the Benelli M4 and replacing it with the 300 Blackout. I purchased both of these for home defense in mind, but the 300 Blackout rifle is just going to be better overall for what I'm trying to use for it, and it has a lot of benefits over using a shotgun, but that's for a different video. If you have any questions about that, feel free to comment down below. Most of these attachments, installations, and basic take apart or disassembly I do have videos on, so if there's something I don't dive into specifically, I do have a lot of videos for stuff on this on my channel, so you can go ahead and take a look at those if you'd like. Both are 12 gauge shotguns with 18.5-inch barrels that can fit up to 3-inch rounds. They have a 7+1 capacity, but you can ghost load both of them to get you 7+2 or a total of 9 rounds. The first video I made on this was pretty bad. It was vertical and one of my first videos while I was still learning. So I'll talk about some of the stuff I did in that video. The Mod 2 with the pistol grip is coming in at 6.8 pounds. The Benelli is at least 2 pounds heavier. That was one of my biggest problems with the Benelli, is that it's so heavy. So I am going to be keeping the Beretta 1301. If you're interested in purchasing this, if I still have it, you're welcome to do that. Beretta has the B-Link gas system, so it cycles 33% faster than its competitors. The Benelli is using the Argo gas system, which has self-cleaning rods. For the Beretta firing 33% faster, I personally don't think that matters much. Because of the recoil and trying to stay on target, it's going to cycle faster than you're going to be able to get your sights back on target. Argo gas system with self-cleaning rods. So these have the potential to go 10 or even 20,000 rounds without being cleaned. I wouldn't recommend that. I will say the Benelli is going to be more durable and reliable because it utilizes a lot more metal parts, while the Beretta uses more plastic parts to shed a lot of that weight. Even though this is the best combat shotgun of all time, Marines mostly use this, and for most civilians or most applications, you can't go wrong with either of these. Just because this has more plastic parts doesn't mean it's going to break. It is still a combat shotgun and will work very well. I personally would rather have the weight savings than this very heavy shotgun. You're going to be saving at least 2 pounds, if not more, with the Beretta, and that does make a big difference. I'll start at the stock, talk about the pros and cons, and then I will also get into the attachments. And you can get either of these with the pistol grip or with the standard stock. The pistol grip is more common on the Benelli. This is the Mesa Tactical pistol grip stock. It has a cheek riser, which is very nice to adjust your head with your line of sight, so you can get a very nice cheek weld on there, especially if using a red dot. I ended up bringing this up 2 notches to get my line of sight in line with my red dot. So I do really like this. It is going to be longer than your adjustable stock from Benelli, but I don't think that's a big deal because you're only really going to be able to use this adjustability when you are storing it or transporting it. I have this pulled out all the way when I'm using it. It's very hard to use when this is collapsed in or even in the middle. The adjustable stock I really don't think matters. Even when I'm storing this, I still have it clicked out all the way, so I don't think the adjustable stock is that big of a pro. Another thing on the Beretta, it has 2 sling points on both sides. I also like that better than on the Beretta. It just stays slung better to my body than having this on the bottom or on the side QD here. With these lined up right here, it is about 3 to 4 inches longer. I personally don't think that's a big deal. The cool thing about the Beretta when you get it in the standard stock version is that on the Mod 2, it actually accepts the Beretta kickoff. And what the Beretta kickoff does is it reduces the felt recoil by 40%. That was a big difference to people when choosing the Beretta versus the Benelli. The Benelli is going to have less recoil because of how heavy it is. Also, that could have a little bit to do with the Argo gas system in here, and the receiver on the Benelli looks a little bit bigger and slightly longer too. If you do get that standard stock, you could have comparable, if not less recoil than the Benelli. Shooting both these with the pistol grip, I do notice that this does have a little bit more recoil. That is something to take into consideration. If you have the standard stock and you switch to the kickoff system, it can cause problems with extracting since those springs are back in the stock for lighter loads like birdshot, low-powered buckshot, or low-powered slug could have a failure to extract because of those springs. The Beretta will cycle pretty much anything you give it. Birdshot, buckshot, slug, low-powered ammo, it'll cycle all of that fine. The Benelli, because of the gas system and how they have it designed, is not going to cycle lower-powered stuff well. For the most part, this was made for your slugs, your buckshot, and your high-powered stuff for combat use. Since I am sticking with the Beretta, I wish I would have gone with the standard stock version. This is a little bit more on the tactical or combat side of things with the pistol grip stock. But with the standard field stock, I think it's just a little bit more versatile. You could technically hunt with this if you want, and you still can with the pistol grip, but it just makes things a little bit more slick if you're going to the field standard stock. And then you could also throw in that kickoff system and get less recoil. I do like the Beretta stock system a little bit better with the kickoff system, with the Mesa Tactical cheek riser and the sling attachment better overall. So this portion does go to the Beretta. You do have a sling swivel down here if you need. These are the screws to take off the Mesa Tactical top. In regards to the pistol grip, they are similar. This grip is a little bit wider and the Beretta is a little bit more slanted. I haven't really noticed much of a difference. It hasn't mattered to me very much. They both work fine. They both feel fine. I don't like these sling spots as much. They both have the cushion rubber pad on the end, but if you flip it over, there is a little sling QD point right there. Just where they place the sling spots, it doesn't sling very well to your body in my opinion. I like it having one side or the other. I haven't been able to remove that. It seems like a special key to remove it. I tried putting an Allen key in there and it spins. It's like a circle tool with some little spikes in the corners of it. So I haven't been able to get that removed. If I could, I would just switch it to the right side. For the Gen 2, you can get the 5-position telescoping stock. I do like this better because it gives more positions. I like how it's not as hollowed out as the Gen 1 was and how you had to turn that as well. So I do like this on the Gen 2 a lot better for the adjustable stock. For both of these, I'm running the T-Rex arm sling. I have a video on that. They're just my favorite slings overall. Slinging a shotgun is a little bit difficult because usually their sling points are a lot farther out. So sometimes you will need a little bit longer of a sling, especially if you're a bigger guy. There's just not as much room to pull your sling in and out. And then I have the T-Rex arm sling keeper that comes with their slings. I just tuck that inside, as you can see right there. And then when I'm ready to use it, I just pull it out. Same right here. Not necessary, but if you're just leaving it somewhere for it to be ready to use, you don't really need to keep it slung because you're going to pull it out anyways. The trigger is better on the Beretta 1301. It's lighter. It feels better. The Benelli, it is a bit heavier. They're still both great triggers. On the Beretta, it's a semi-flat face trigger. You can see there's just a little bit of take up and there's really no wall. It's a very nice and light trigger. I do like their trigger better. For the Benelli, it's definitely tougher, especially that first spot. I do personally like the curved triggers better. Semi-flat one feels very nice. I don't have any problems with that. The next thing to talk about is the safeties. I swapped that out for a Terran Tactical because the other one was super skinny. Again, not needed. When you're actuating the safety, you have to use the middle of your pointer finger to push it in, or you can curl it. With the oversized safety from Terran Tactical, it allows me to push it in with the middle of my pointer finger a little bit easier. On the Beretta, it already gives you an oversized safety. I do like the position of the safety on the Beretta better because your finger's already right there. It's just a little bit easier to hit. Not a big deal. With safeties and stuff on shotguns, I don't think you're going to be messing with them that much. Moving on down to the lifters, the Beretta stock lifter is better. The Beretta Pro lifter that comes stock in the Mod 2 is better than the Benelli. Once you get around into the chamber, your lifter gets nice and out of the way for easy loading. You don't have to press into the lifter and then insert your round. That is a very cool feature. I actually swapped this out with the Terran Tactical AccuGuide on the Benelli. It has like a little slot cut out in the center, which it makes it easier for your thumb to get snagged, or if you're wearing gloves, it makes it easier for your glove to get caught there. So I swapped that out with the Terran Tactical. It's just more smooth. Not necessary. The stock one they have is fine. I wish they wouldn't have done that design. Both of the followers that come in these are fine. Most of these attachments I put on here aren't really needed. If you are trying to get a shotgun, the only thing I would really say you need is some type of ammo source, a sling, and a flashlight. That's really all you need. Moving down to the bolt release, I swapped this out on the Benelli for the Terran Tactical oversized bolt release. The bolt release on the Gen 1 is absolutely terrible. It's like as big as this screw right here and was not easy to hit at all. So on the Gen 2, they fixed it for a bigger circle, which is fine. About the same size as this bolt face. But this oversized from Terran Tactical, I do like it more. The stock bolt release from Beretta is better. It's just longer. You have more surface area and it feels a little bit smoother to hit. This has a plastic face while the Benelli has a metal face. This sticks out a little bit longer than the Benelli does. I'd say they're both pretty equal there. I do like the Benelli a little bit better, but when I bought this, I was having some problems with my charging handle staying in. Sent it back to Benelli and they installed a new charging handle in there, and I haven't had any problems since then. The bolt actuation is a lot smoother, or it feels smoother, to where there's a little bit less resistance on the Benelli. With the Beretta, it's a little bit more stiff, and when you're pulling the charging handle back, it just feels a little bit more smooth than the Beretta. Not a big deal. Your round release for your tube on your Benelli, it is this little button right here. You just hit that and it will send around onto your lifter. For the Beretta, it is actually down here, that little square right under this. You just hit that and then a round would fly onto your lifter. I like the position better on there. For the iron sights, they both have the exact same type of iron sights. This protective mounting piece is plastic. Your iron sight itself is metal. The entire iron sight mounting and guarding is metal. I would say a shotgun is the least necessary to mount a red dot to, but it does make things a little bit easier. Instead of lining up 3 things, you're just lining up 2 things. You have the Aimpoint Acro P2 here and the Aimpoint Micro T2 here. The Aimpoint T2 is my favorite red dot, and I would have mounted it here as well, but I wanted to save a little bit money because these are so expensive. They're both solid optics, but you do have to make sure that you choose a durable optic when mounting it to a shotgun, because the recoil impulse, it can actually break your red dot if you don't choose something that's durable. Moving on to your shotgun card or side saddle. Up here we have a Grim Hunter Tactical Shotgun card. S-Tac is another very common brand. I personally don't like these as much because they don't retain rounds very well because of the elastic. I've had rounds fly out on me, but they are a cheap and a decent option to carry some extra ammo with you. I have the Aridus Industries Quick Detach. I like this option more. It retains rounds better. You can mount your rounds upside down or whichever way you want to do it. This is a more costly option, but I do think it is worth it, because if your ammo doesn't stay in your side saddle, what's the point of having the side saddle? Both this quick detach carrier and the shotgun card, they fit in most of your AR-15 or M4 style mag pouches. I did have a 2-round shot saver here, which I took off. I don't really like shot savers because they're kind of a one and done use. It does save you a half a second or a second on a reload, but after you use that one, it's pretty much done, and then you're just adding weight. So I personally don't like shot savers a lot. I have seen people be able to mount them to the plastic on here. This is the Briley 3-gun M-Lock handguard. This is the 13-inch. I really liked this. It allowed me to get my light out closer to the end of the barrel, so there is less shadow when I'm using my flashlight, but this is expensive. For the Briley and the Freedom Fighter Tactical springs or washers, it was about $400 to $450, so it's definitely an expensive option. This is the stock handguard that came on the Benelli on the Gen 2. It's definitely an improvement from the other one. I was super disappointed they didn't go with M-LOK. It's pretty ridiculous that they didn't. They give you 3 Picatinny sections that you screw in to these little holes down here, and then you can only mount it where these are. So you can only mount it here, the bottom, and the other side. I think that was a big mistake from Benelli, and they definitely should have found a way to go with M-LOK instead. That being said, both of these handguards suck. Definitely should have been a lot of improvement on both of them. The good thing about this is that it goes all the way around the barrel. If you did want to C-clamp or put your thumb around it or up higher, you wouldn't burn your hand. Since the top is exposed, you could put your thumb up there and potentially burn your hand. This is just really short, so if you do mount a flashlight here, you're going to get a lot of shadow, but it is close enough that you will be able to activate your flashlight. If you had a shot saver or a foregrip or something like that, you could throw that on here as well. So it's not all bad. I just wish it would have been longer, but being how heavy this is, it would have added a lot of weight. On the Beretta, this was a very lazy attempt to upgrade their handguard. All they did was steal this from the A300 Patrol model that they had before this. They didn't really make any improvements on it. It does have some textured grip here, and then they have the M-LOK slots here on the other side and on the bottom. The big problem with this handguard, it gives you the option to mount a flashlight, but they don't give you any option to mount a switch. I made a video on different light mounting options where you can kind of cantilever it back to be able to activate it a little bit easier. Where I have the switch right now is where my hand naturally rests, and I can activate the light without having to reach and then have to move my grip or build inconsistency with my grip and all that stuff, or being able to activate the light and still hold on to the shotgun for recoil management. If I were to try to activate this all the way out here, for me personally, it would be pretty uncomfortable. I am 6 foot tall, so I do have a pretty long wingspan as is. And especially when somebody like Briley can make a better handguard than the manufacturer, that's just ridiculous. I put some BCM M-LOK covers over here, and then I have a BCM vertical grip on. Having this vertical grip on here really allows me to pull this shotgun in tight to my shoulder to be able to help with recoil management. With this handguard, you can still pull it in, but definitely not as much with the vertical grip. That is something I really do like about having this on here. I wish Beretta would have extended out this M-LOK a little bit more. I have the Unity M-LOK hot button. This is my favorite pressure pad for flashlights I've ever used. I can't believe Unity discontinued this, and this was an amazing design. That's how I would normally shoot, and then when I'm ready, it's right there at my finger. It feels great. It's momentary and constant on. It even has this shrouded protective guard, which is awesome. I just zip tied the cable a little bit to keep that from moving around a lot. And then on the Beretta, this is where I was talking about how it makes it really difficult to mount a flashlight to where you can activate it easily. So I had to jerry rig this switch up a little bit to get the pressure pad where I wanted it to be. I used some zip ties for the Surefire pressure pad. This is momentary only. Not as clean or as slick as I would have liked it at all. I did buy some Magpul M-LOK cable management that I'm going to use to try to clean this up, or at least take off one zip tie or two. Benelli loading is not as smooth as the Beretta. The round retainer clip inside there, every time I load a shell, the metal part of the shell catches on that, so you really have to shove it in there for it to clear. And then if you push the ramp down too far, the front of your shell will actually clip on the bottom of your mag tube or your round tube. I wish they would have made that a little bit more smooth. I can distinctly feel 2 different times where the round is hitting something with resistance, so it definitely takes a little bit more force. The one thing I don't like about this is that up top, you can actually squeeze it together and it flexes a little bit. I haven't had any problems with anything breaking off or anything like that. It's still decently durable for the most part, but it's not going to be as durable as this. This is thicker, stronger. It has the enclosed top, so it's not going to be flexing up there. Gives you a lot more options to mount your different accessories or whatever you might want. So I have my light mounted a little bit down farther because of the flexing on that. I didn't want it all the way up top. Because both these guns are so long, I used a tape switch to be able to activate that easier instead of pulling my light back or pushing my hand out farther to where it's not comfortable. I use the Arisaka inline scout mount for both of them. Arisaka makes amazing light mounts. I like their stuff a lot, and I've used them a lot. I've had no problems with them breaking. They're very durable and reliable. That just helps push my light out farther towards the end of the barrel. For the remote switch end cap, this is the DS00. This is more expensive because it gives you a button on top. I wouldn't recommend that. I would just go with something that hooks directly in there. That's kind of like a backup option. If your tape switch were to go out, then you could use that button. But if you get a reliable tape switch, you shouldn't have any problems with that. Here I just went with the single plug from Surefire. I think this is the S700 or something like that. I have the Modlite PLH V2 on both of them. This is the 18650 version. If I would have done it again, I probably would have got the 18350 version. It still has the same output. It cuts down the length, which in turn cuts down the weight. And because these guns are already pretty heavy, I would have liked to shed a little bit of weight there since you still have the same performance. You just don't have the same runtime. I don't think you need a ton of flashlight runtime on a shotgun. Since it's already sticking out really far, I would have went with a little bit of shorter one. If you have a shorter handguard, something like this, you're definitely going to want that longer length and then that light mount that helps push you out farther towards the end of the barrel. Then on the end, Beretta has the barrel clamp with the M-lock slots on both sides and then the QD on both sides. This does accept your shotgun QDs or regular size QDs. I did test it. That's a decent point to mount a sling. And then you have your mag tube end cap. This is 2 pieces and it helps keep your handguard nice and tight. They both have the exact same front sight. It's a standard front sight post for your ghost ring sights. I ended up taking them off because I have red dots on there and I didn't want them being in the way, taking up my sight picture. And then I also screwed these down farther so they weren't taking up my sight picture as well. Because I have durable and reliable red dots, I'm not really worried about my optic failing. Both of these ScaleWorks sync mounts, the iron sights will co-witness through your red dot, so they'll be right there if your optic fails. That's what I really like about the ScaleWorks sync mounts. They're also very lightweight, durable, and reliable. It comes with a removable choke, and they send you an extra choke. This is a smoothbore barrel, and that is also a smoothbore barrel. But I did not receive any chokes with this, and this does not have a choke in the end. It's just smoothbore all the way up. So they're both great options. You can't go wrong with either. Personally, I would recommend the Beretta 1301. I think you get more bang for your buck. I think they could have went a little bit more towards the civilian use aspect. Just some little things here and there, like making the trigger better, making the loading better. Could have made a bigger bolt release, shed some of the weight, stuff like that. If you are looking at purchasing the Beretta and you kind of want it as a multi-use, I would go with that field stock they have, and then you can swap in and out that kickoff system to give you the lighter recoil if you are using it. It just slims it down a little bit. You can hunt with it if you want. If you're wanting it as more of a home defense or a combat shotgun, the pistol grip is nice because of the cheek riser. Having a much lighter shotgun, it's just easier to carry. It's easier to shoot with, easier to pull up and down when you're doing your reps. Went with a black instead of FDE, and instead of multicam, I would have thrown that as a Ranger green. I am going to be selling this and replacing this with a 300 blackout shorter rifle. If you want to help me be able to get more time in doing this stuff, please like, subscribe, and share for that. If you have any questions or anything I missed, feel free to comment down below. Or if you want to see anything specifically, let me know as well. Thank you for watching.